Welcome to Play by Players, an MLSPA podcast. Now here's your host, former MLS player, Bobby Boswell.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are joined by one of the more veteran guys in MLS. He's got quite the resume. We won't call it a resume today, but he's definitely put in a great body of work in this league. He's played over 250 professional games in his MLS career. Please welcome to the podcast, Jalil Anibaba.
Bobby, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, man. Just, I guess unfortunately or fortunately, however you're looking at it, enjoying the downtime during the off season.
Yeah, where are you? Where do you spend your off season, or is it a little too soon to make any moves?
I'm all over the place, typically. So I'm in Boston now, and then I'll head back to California in a couple days and spend some time there, and then maybe kind of pop around to a couple other places before I head back to Nashville.
Okay, well, let me be the first to congratulate you on, I think, a season that nobody expected, especially the way it started. But you guys made a heck of a run in the playoffs. I think it's something to be proud of. It definitely surprised. I know that as a player, you don't like looking at what the analysts and the experts are predicting, but I'm willing to bet no one got it right in that regard. So congrats to you, and I hope you feel that it was quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, no, thanks. Like you said, it was a wild year for us as a club, obviously being an expansion club. But it's a wild year for everybody. So for us to be able to kind of hit the ground running in the league is something that we're definitely trying to build on, and we're happy about,
Well, and this is the first expansion team you've ever been a part of, right? That you were never on an expansion team?
Yeah.
And I guess my question is do you think that helped? And by no means was anything about this season normal. And I know for those that don't know, the hurricane that hit early on before really the shutdowns with COVID, do you think that being an expansion team, and I think there's this idea that you just don't know what to expect, right? And then you have these crazy things happen. Do you think that helped in terms of that mindset with you as an individual? And then do you think it helped bring you guys closer as a team in Nashville?
It definitely helped bring us closer as a team, unfortunately. But we actually had to deal with, so many like very influential occurrences that were negative, very early on in the season, or before really the true crux of the season even started. So yeah, it definitely helped us, or forced us, I would say, bond. It forced us to bond. And it was kind of like, for us, we were just like so badly wanting to play to prove who we were, and actually get on the field and do what we were all brought together to do, really.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think we see that with time, and your veteran leadership, Dax. I'd say Walker's somewhat of a veteran. Y'all were able to really make some moves and really surprise a lot of people. And I love watching y'all play. I'm a fan of a lot of the guys on your team, yourself included. So it was fun to watch. And that's kind of where we are now. I want to go all the way back. I want to go back to California in the beginning. Let's talk a little bit about how you got started, a little bit about your family. Talk to me a little bit about growing up in California. As I understand, you were a basketball and a soccer fan.
Yep. So growing up, it was a soccer family. My dad coming from Nigeria, obviously soccer is something that he loves and values very, very much. But our parents, they let us play pretty much all sports except for American football, really. So we played, and when I say we, I mean me and my brothers. We played baseball, played basketball, and obviously soccer. And there was a point in time there where I was just as serious. I was serious with all sports that I played, but I was probably just as serious and just as devoted to baseball as I was soccer. And there's a point in time where I was I don't know, arguably better at baseball than I was at soccer. You know, and then picked up basketball a little bit later, junior high through high school. I played basketball as well. So, you know, we grew up understanding a lot of life lessons through the lens of sport. And, you know, I think it very much helped myself and my brothers and our family at large kind of uh, you know, deal with how life throws a multitude of good, bad, and ugly at you, all while having fun on the weekends, you know.
Yeah. Well, I know your dad was your first soccer coach. Did he coach you in the other sports, or was it just soccer?
Just soccer. Oh, my dad knows like overall sports psychology very, very well, but he
Okay.
like to oh no, my dad definitely couldn't have been a baseball coach or a no, like no, like no, and not basketball either. But like he could always, if we were, you know, on the baseball diamond or, you know, on the hardwood floor, he could always give us insight in terms of how to level up, how to be a more sound athlete. You know, because yeah, again, he's a soccer guy, but very much understands the psychology of sport and what it takes to yeah, level up in whatever endeavor you're talking about sports wise.
And I know, like my dad used to call me after every game, leave a voicemail because I stopped answering after, you know, probably 6, 7 years. But you're it's just, especially if I got a yellow card on a foul in the middle of the field, like it drove him nuts. Like you
Yeah,
say,
so
it's so
every
stupid.
other
But I know your dad as a coach, I'd imagine he was talking to you probably either before or after every game. Does he still do that?
yeah, so I'm the opposite of you, I guess. I call him after every
Okay.
much. And we like, you know, we'll talk about the game really. And if he like had a training session or whatever it was before he retired, had to work later or whatever it was, couldn't catch the game, so oh, I'll catch the replay. But almost invariably, he's like, if we win or something and I call him, he'll like pick up the phone laughing because he like can't wait to talk about it or whatever. So it's interesting. I guess I never really thought about it this way until now, but like it all stems from like yearning for that similar interaction and conversation that like you would always have in the car with your dad after games, you know? So like obviously like having cell phones and all that was like my proverbial ride in the car after every game. So yeah, I'll call him and we'll chat and yeah, it just like helps to put things into perspective when they're going well or when they're going horribly or they're just kind of blah. So it's cool and it keeps things fun and like he still always gives me like fresh perspective on um you know, the technical side of the game, the more like, you know, soccer nerdy side, you know how we can all geek
Yeah.
out on
Yep.
football.
Yep.
So yeah, it's I think it's a way for me to still always look for ways to improve. And it's good to have those things, those aspects of life close to you that keep you grounded.
Absolutely. No, I love that. I love the family aspect that you have, and we'll touch on some of that throughout this interview. Your dad was one, I think, of 10 kids,
Yep.
uh, which kind of probably builds the foundation behind the big family that you have and your siblings. I know that there's a lot of stuff out there in the media about you and your brother Jamil,
Hmm.
and you know, talk to me a little bit about playing up, you know, as a younger player playing up, and he attributes your success to maybe doing that. I know I am the baby boy of 4 boys, and I
Yeah.
know I did that. I really feel like that helped me gain an edge. Do you feel like that natural challenge of trying to just fit in and play with the better talent was what excelled you to where you are now?
Yo, without a doubt. Like without a doubt. Yeah. So my older brother Jamil is 2 years older than me, and he would play up a year or two typically. So like I I was playing U12 when I was like 8. So like, you know, for me it was always like luckily first and foremost I had an older brother who would let me tag along and like he would always like, "Hey, Jalil, come on, let's go, let's do this," or whatever. Even like outside of soccer, like hanging out with the homies in the neighborhood, and like, when you're in junior high, he'd like take me to high school parties and stuff like that. So like, you as a younger sibling, as you put it, you gain a lot of edges in life. You gain a lot of the competitive edge, the technical edge, however the developmental edge, when you're around an environment that you're currently like reaching up toward, instead of just putting your hand out or reaching down. So I think had I like I never dominated when I was a youth, really. Like I was a baller, I could ball, don't get me wrong, but like it was never like, let me play my age group so I can like bang in a hat trick every game and just kill it. It was like, let me try to play with, like I was saying, when I was 8, 9, let me try to play with the 12 and 13-year-olds and try to mega dude and still be like one of the better players on the field.
I think you touched on a good point, right? You weren't seeking approval, by dominating your age. You were trying to seek approval by playing up and seeking your brother's approval, as opposed to maybe the kids that were your age that you knew you could just absolutely dominate. You don't necessarily want to be the best player at an early age. You want to have that chip on your shoulder to keep getting better, and then next thing you know, you're an elite class of player, because of you never settled for where you were at.
For sure. For sure.
Well, you say you didn't dominate, but I think the Gatorade Player of the Year award would argue a little differently. That's a pretty, we're going to get into a little bit about California soccer. I think it was the 2006, 2007, Jalil Anibaba, Gatorade Player of the Year for high school. I looked through. I was just curious because you say the word nerd a lot. I'm a nerd for this kind of stuff. Other winners: Steve Cherundolo, Adam John, Jordan Harvey, Chris Seitz, Emma Boateng, Kristen Roldan, Abu Danladi. That's some pretty good company to be in from the state of California.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, that was my senior year, so I couldn't,
So it goes back to what you're saying. You finally played your actual age.
Yeah. But nah, in all seriousness, first of all, shout out to Adam John, because that's 2 Davis kids with Gatorade Player of the Year. But not like, it was first of all, I was lucky that I came from a soccer city, a soccer town. Like Davis, most all kids play soccer at least at one point in time. And like our high school program was very good. And like it was still in that pocket of time where it was before academy. So like at, when we would play our season was in the fall, now they play in the winter. But anyway, during high school soccer season, literally everything froze and shut down. And then, the best kids are playing high school soccer. So it was a very, it was a good environment for me to grow.
Yeah, I'd imagine being Gatorade Player of the Year in California, you could have gone anywhere you wanted. You spent 3 years at Santa Clara. As you referenced, you transferred to UNC. I don't want to get too much into the college or why you transferred or anything like that. I do want to know I wanted to transfer. This is a true story. I wanted to transfer from FIU in Miami my junior year. I wanted to transfer to Chapel Hill. I wanted to do the same thing you essentially did.
Yeah.
But my coach wouldn't, I would have had to sit a year out. Did you have to do that? Or was there an exclusion in terms of, or did your coach just let you do it?
Yeah, fortunately for me, my transfer wasn't blocked, if you will, so I didn't have to sit out a year. And if that would have been the case for me, my college career would have been over, right? Because I was a junior. I left after my junior season, so if I would have had to sit out a year, I would have foregone my senior year. So it literally wouldn't have been possible for me to do both. So yeah, Chapel Hill was great. Santa Clara was great as well, in the sense that like a lot of people assumed that because you transfer from a university that if you could have done it all over again, you would have chosen not to go there. But that's not the case for me. If I could have done it all over again, even knowing the information that I know, I still would have gone to Santa Clara. I still made the right decision. But I also made the right decision to transfer. Sometimes life is that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure. I like I say, I don't like for me, that was a very interesting time finding myself as a young person. And I get into that with people that want to get into it, but I know that not everyone wants to open up on those things, and that's fine. I think for me, the bigger thing I look at was, my understanding of why you left was to go find some success that you prepare yourself for the next level. I know you had some experience at that level. Now you're at U18 and the U20 national team. The goal is professional soccer. You go to UNC where y'all make the ACC final. You get to the semifinals of the College Cup, and you play with a lot of guys there that go on to become professionals. Guys like Michael Farfan, my guy Alex Dixon. Those are guys I played with that I love. But you play with these guys and it prepares you, and sure enough, you get drafted to Chicago. So talk to me a little bit about reaching that goal and what your mindset was going from your whole goal is to go to Chapel Hill to become a professional. Now
Right.
you've drafted to become a professional. What is your mindset going into that?
Going to Chicago and starting my professional career there was literally the perfect place for me to have been drafted and to end up and to start for multiple reasons. I loved the city. I loved, the locker room, the environment there, with the guys, the mix of guys, young, middle, middle in their career, but especially the older guys. That was where, I really found, a very nurturing environment for a young kid that just wanted to succeed. So I couldn't have been at any better of a situation right out of college.
Well, I think and listening to some stuff you did before, coming on, I think I listened to Benny Sal and Ike's thing, and you said something that I found really interesting, and it was a Kalen Carr comment. You were talking
Mhm,
about Logan Paws and different guys that have had an effect on you,
mhm.
and you said that one of them was Kalen Carr,
Oh,
and I sent Kaylin a message, and I have to read you this message because I said, Kaylin, someone just described you as a potential role model for their lives. And he wrote back, all he wrote back was poor bastard. And then I told him it was you, and he said Corey Gibbs, I think, was his main influence. It was a weird time when the Fire, sadly, I don't want to out, who basically, I don't think he liked De Los Cobos, but it is what it is. And I think they lost recently. He's El Salvador's coach, and he just got shelled by the national team.
yeah, I saw
But
that.
anyways, he put that you were a very mature kid, and you were willing to accept any help to go in the right way. And then he says, my favorite part with Kalen, has a way with words. He says he was basically a 30-year-old rookie. He ended up giving me career and life advice to get my stuff in order.
Of course, to understand how funny it is maybe to even call Kalen a role model is to know Kalen because he's a one of a kind. But
Oh, yeah. There's no one like him.
none. But it was crazy because I got there, whatever. I'm still like, what is going on? Who's this? What's this, that, and the other? Like, let's just play, right? But there's all these things like guys have these endorsement deals. What is this? This is definitely not college, right? And I saw this young looking dude. I'm like, yo, who's this kid that looks like he's still in high school? And I was kind of assuming to myself, like, oh, he must be like another like rookie or something, or but I knew the players that were there and that had done well. So I didn't recognize him, right? So and they kept calling him they didn't call him Kalen, they were calling him KK. So I thought he was someone else. So I'm thinking like, who is this young guy, you know? And then I remember talking to him before. He didn't even say his name. We were like in the back of the bus or something. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, he asked me like, how was maybe Chapel Hill or something to that effect, exchange it, like early exchanges and conversation. And then he said something like, oh, like how old are you as a rookie? I said 22 or whatever. And I was like, how old are you? Thinking he was going to say like
19.
he was like, yeah, like I'm 27 or I was like, huh? You're what? So man, the baby face never fails because he still looks younger than
Yeah.
the rookie coming in today.
I was just saying he still looks like a rookie, and he's just, you know, he's this tall, gangly, wiry dude, man.
Yeah.
Well, no, I thought that was great, and you did have you did have some very good those Chicago teams, especially some of them before you, but there's still some remnants of guys, you know, some very good leaders. You know, I always ask guys, it's tough to say who all influenced you. I could ask you that in a positive way, and we could spend 2 hours on that, right? I
For
always
sure.
ask guys, did anyone make it hard on you? I suspect, I know that you're not a guy that badmouths anybody, but I'm always curious, you know, if anyone made it hard in terms of your progression or things that maybe you thought were hard, but they ended up, you know, being beneficial to you in the long run.
See, that's what I was saying about Chicago. Nah, because they like the older guy, they protected me. Like, so me and Corey were tight, like as if we grew up together or something. But I didn't even know him before I got there, and we're still tight like that to this day. But like he took me under, Logan took me under, Logan Paul's, John Conway took me under, um, you know, guys like Patrick Niarco, all them.
That
So
is,
like yeah, so like if anyone like tried to step to me, it was like they were stepping to the veterans on the team. It just never was a thing. It was more so like, all right, Jalil, things are going like this. You were able to play the first couple of games. Now you got to figure out how to play the next 10 and do well. And then after that, it's like, okay, this is what you need. They were always like kind of teaching me how to level up. So yeah, them guys are my foundation.
yeah. I mean, and you said it earlier. You played a lot of games in your time in Chicago from day, you know, day two, day one. You were the guy, and you know, and that's important for development, giving you the confidence to know you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I always love pointing out things that date people, you know,
Yeah.
and I joke around and I say, like, my kids watch games that I played in from when I started, and they're like, they think something's wrong with the TV because HD didn't exist. You score a banger of a goal in an Open Cup game,
Mm-hmm.
and I always say, like, I'll compliment you and then I'll knock you down. The only problem is that it was that was so long ago, and you're still a lot younger than me. But if I can poke fun at a veteran guy, I'm going to poke fun out of it. They don't even have a good angle of the goal, and you shot from so damn far that the camera guy didn't even think you were shooting the ball. It's just like you shoot it, and then it's just like there's no way that went in the goal. But you know, I think that for me, that was, I think, the goal of the year for Chicago, the year that you scored it. You know, so you had a lot of success there, and it was it had to have been a great experience for you.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's funny that you mentioned that because some of the rookies on our team this year actually were like, yo, came into training one day. They're like, yo, Jalil, like we saw this video of you. Like, I don't know, like it
It's
looked
never
like
good.
you were holding a camcorder and it was like a goal that you scored. And I was like, damn, this is this is like they're having the same experience as me when I was young and I was walking into them locker rooms thinking like, dang, some of these guys are just old, talking about mowing their lawn and redoing their deck and all this nonsense, you
Yeah.
know.
Well,
So
listen, I played with Pat Onstad in Houston, and
yeah,
we drafted Danny Cruz, and Pat Onstad was older than Danny Cruz's parents.
yep. That was like playing with like Marcus Hanneman and
Yeah,
we
exactly. That should be the goal, I think, for all players, is to play long enough that you could be someone's dad in the locker room. You go from Chicago, you go to two of arguably the next two teams. I've got them here. I think
Mhm.
this side here. Two of the better places to be a player, and from an outsider, I mean, I never played for these clubs, but the fan experience, the professionalism, great coaches, great players. I'm talking about the Seattle Sounders and Sporting Kansas City. I call them the Kansas City Wizards because I'm old. But
Yeah.
but tell me a little bit. What did you take away from going to those big clubs? Not to say Chicago's not a big club, but it's definitely a different animal. In Seattle and Kansas City, and talk to me what you learned from those experiences, being there for a year each.
Yeah, absolutely. So going from Chicago to Seattle was great because at the time that I left Chicago, I wasn't trying to get out by any means. I was traded. I literally woke up to a text saying that I was traded to Chicago or to Seattle, but like I was ready for a new challenge. And that was a very fitting next location for me and a bigger challenge for me. Um, in that year we had an amazing year as a club. We literally missed out on MLS Cup by away goal.
Y'all won a
Yeah,
supporter shield and an open cup, right? Is that
yeah. And we just had like such a deep team. That was the best team I've been on paper.
okay?
Um, our bench would have started on any other team easily. And we had still a very refreshing group though, a refreshing locker room. You had some like extremely big names in that locker room, but like we all found a way to like relate to one another and like just, you know, put good performances together week in and week out. And there's a really good mix. There's a good mix. So there I learned how to, again, level up. Like, I don't know, it's very reminiscent to like even my youth days, like how to, when you think you've hit a pinnacle, strive for more. Right. And it ended up being, you know, if it, maybe if it wasn't for like expansion drafts and things like that, I probably would have stayed in Seattle a little bit longer, but that's just how it works out. And
Yeah,
then
they
going
added
to,
adding a team every year for 10 years.
yeah, it's just like the trajectory of the league. And then, via the expansion draft, I went to I went to Kansas City, which was also a good location for me too, because um, you know, another, like you said, another successful club, another club that is predicated on winning and like building a culture that is attractive for the people that live in the Kansas City area. So I loved it. I loved the guys. I loved the style of football that we played. Loved playing for Peter. Like it was a great experience, and we were good too. So like
Yeah.
I think for me, coming from Chicago to going to those two clubs, it was like, seeing being more a part of, success really.
Okay. Well, I'd say one of our rivals in Houston when I played here was always those Kansas City teams.
Yep.
You didn't usually, see guys go back and forth from KC to Houston, Houston to KC, but you do. You end up going to Houston, which is, I live in Houston now. I'm a big, love the Brenners, and I love the organization. Um, talk to me a little bit about Houston. I know we could joke about the heat. I know you have family here, so that was, you talk about being a big
Yeah,
family guy. Having some family here is always going to help you.
for sure.
I think you had your most playoff success here as an individual.
Yeah, Houston. Well, it's interesting though, just to touch on like the rivalry between Houston and Kansas City. Like there are certain teams that just have like whether it's a psychological edge that's based on, you know, just like MLS history or what is going on. But like Houston typically has just got something on Kansas City. Like I don't know, those years where you guys were beating them in the Eastern Conference Finals, or and going to the MLS Cup and playing against the Galaxy. Like, I don't know if that scarred Kansas City from time, but like that rivalry, there's some the soccer gods are awake when Kansas City and Houston play. That's for sure. But yeah, Houston for me was again another situation where like it was completely different. Houston was completely different for me than any other club that I've played for. Like the culture around the club, I enjoyed very much. I like how like a lot of the older guys that played for the club previously are like all very much woven into the club. Like guys like yourself, guys like Coriash, guys like Chingy. It was cool to be around that. And I was around guys that like I knew just from like being around the league a lot. Like Will Bruin and we roomed together at the draft and stuff. So like we hit it off again like super quick, and like it was an environment where I was comfortable pretty early on. And yeah, we made a little run there in 17. And unluckily my former club Seattle got the better of us.
Yeah. I was at that game, the game in Houston. And then they're a powerhouse team, and you talk about Will Bruin. He seems to love playing against teams that he has a chip on his shoulder. That guy finds a way to score.
Mm-hmm.
But all right. Well, I know you end up getting moved to a team you seem to be really fond of, and I don't know a lot of people that talk uh, fondly about New England. New England was always a big rival for me as my early days with DC. They were the team that I really feel like I should have two or three championships. And this team just wrecked any chance that we had. But talk to me a little bit about going to New England.
Yeah, for me, I had this exact same sentiments about New England before I went there. Like I had nothing, I didn't have like any animosity toward like the club or the guys or anything like that, but it was always just like, all right, New England, like, that's like the worst away game to possibly play.
Yeah.
Like it's
You stay.
typically.
You stay. For those that don't know, and you might not even know. So it used to be you'd stay in literally a hotel that was like a castle, and the only place near it was a TGI Fridays. And then they move you. They move you to the out by the stadium. And if you don't like Toby Keith, which I like country music, I don't like Toby Keith. And it's one of those where there's nothing to do there other than go to this country bar after the game and before the game. It's not like you can go get a good meal anywhere. You have to eat the meal in the hotel because there's literally nothing else you can eat that's halfway decent there.
Right. Yeah. So you're saying, like I was kind of like when I found out that, I was going to New England, I was kind of like, all right, well, this is just going to be like a soccer move. Like, hopefully it goes well on the field. Like, let's go type. So that was like my mindset, really. I was just like, all right, like, let's go. But, I was very, very pleasantly surprised with like my overall experience there. And I went into it, with an open mind, but it wasn't like I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I also wasn't like pissed. I wasn't mad about it or anything. So, looking back at my 2 years there, yeah, it actually was amazing. Like it was amazing. And, I really like vibed with just like the overall feel. The guys, it was real cool. I ended up really loving the city, and like where I lived and everything. Like it was real cool. And I wasn't necessarily expecting that. And, we were able to last season or 2 seasons ago, whenever this podcast is going to come out, but we were able to salvage the season in 2018 or 2019, sorry. And make a run, and we got into playoffs. Of course, we ended up getting knocked out by Atlanta, but it was very much a respectable season that we were able to all be a part of last year.
Yeah, and then we kind of touched on Nashville a little bit, but before we go to there, you've played on some teams that rival. Houston, Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, Seattle. I mean, Seattle, Portland's probably arguably the best one in the league. New England's got its fair share of rivals in that pocket of the country. Chicago, on any given day they can have different rivals. What teams, like for me, I was always motivated to Red Bulls. I don't care. The world could be ending, and if I can take a cheap shot on the way out, like I'm doing it, like that's where I choose to put my animosity. But I mean, do you have any teams, any games that when the schedule comes out, you circle them on your calendar and you say, like, if I'm healthy and I'm available for that game, like I'm bringing it, especially on that game.
Yeah, for me, there are 5 games on at least 5 teams on each given year that it's like not necessarily a rival, but yeah, to that, like I'm up for, and those are the teams that I used to play for, because you all want to, there's just something intrinsic about playing your former club where there's extra level of motivation, right? And that like never goes away. Like I still feel the same way about, playing against, Chicago or Seattle or whatever.
Is it irrelevant if the coaches that were there or the GMs that were there are gone? Meaning, it doesn't matter for you, or does that have some impact?
Yeah, it does have impact because there's levels to it. So it does have impact, but it's always like, so there was a time in Chicago where in the last couple of years where like pretty much nobody that I worked with was with the club. And like, so it wouldn't have meant as much to me to play against Chicago in 2018-ish as it would to play against Kansas City, for example, or something like that. But it kind of like the soccer world's small, so it ebbs and flows. And now, like with Klopas being back in with the technical staff at Chicago, like it kind of reinvigorates some of that motivation to do well, because Klopas was the GM when I was drafted at Chicago. He drafted me. So like, when we played them recently, I'm just like chopping it up with him before the game and like talking about how crazy it's been that this is, here we are 10, 11 years in the future. So it always, the soccer world's small, but you also too are thinking about like the fans that used to cheer for you and you played for them. You want to put a good product against them as well. It's you know how it is, like playing against your former club. There's nothing like it, and you definitely want to put your best foot forward. But this isn't.
You're preaching to the choir, man. I know that. I always just said I didn't want to end up on a locker room board for motivating the other team, but in the team huddles, I'm as petty as they come, man. And I would always.
It's impossible for you to have been playing in games and teams weren't like, no, Bobby Boswell is one of our main motivating factors to beat these. Like, no, like you already know you portrayed yourself as like, the thorn in everybody's backside. So we were all into games.
My motivation, and I knew where every player on the team had been, and where, I would always ask a guy, hey man, we're playing, we're playing your old team this week. What do you think? And it's like, and then that would be my speech in the pregame, like, hey, Jalil, let's go get this W for not just ourselves, but let's stick it to these guys for this guy. And it was amazing how guys rapped, because everyone has had that, right? Everyone's been traded when they didn't want to be traded, or it's a slap in the face to an athlete and a professional that when they get moved on, because it is what it is, but they're like, oh, it's business, but it's like, yeah, it's a little more than business for me, So I knew how to motivate my guys, and I used it for myself. And like for me, I say guys, when they score against their old teams, like I celebrated, and I think everyone should celebrate. And I get why guys don't. I get it. But at the same time, you've walked into stadiums where you played and you left all of it out there, and you had some guy tell you suck, or I've had people tell me like, I hope you die and burn in hell. And
Right.
it's like, okay, well, don't feel bad when I say, don't be mad at me when I go and celebrate when we win this game.
Exactly. And I think it all comes back to the fact that like, like sometimes people forget that like the people that are playing these games and entertaining people and, obviously, putting a lot into like the craft, they're human beings though. So like that is kind of like to be a part of like fan culture, or like, and we're all parts of fan culture, even the people that play, like it is in a way to put aside the fact that these are real people, right? So like a lot of times it's not really accounted for when like guys are, either traded or like they, yeah, like that means you got to move your, if it's, even if it's just yourself, you got to call your parents and be, hey, so now I'm doing this. And then they start worrying about you and all these other things. So there's always, there's a multitude of backstories behind all these types of things. And it hits people in different ways. But yeah, everybody wants to beat their old team.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Well, I just was curious if anything, I love your answer. I love that it's 5 teams. Cause that's, I mean, I guarantee you I'm a lot more petty than you are with that stuff. And I think it's refreshing when guys embrace that, and they use it as motivation, because that's what it should be, in my opinion. Let's,
Yeah.
I'm gonna speed it up. I wanted to talk a little bit about how diverse you are off the field. I know that you cut guys' hair in the locker room. Like you've got you're a barber. You charging these guys for the skills, or?
Yeah. Free 99 all day.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's good. We talk a little bit about your time in Houston. When did you, I know you're very, I think you're trilingual. Is that right? Or you speak multiple languages?
Yeah.
Do you feel like, obviously Spanish, it's gotta be, I mean, I speak a little Spanish. I can't imagine playing in a league now and not speaking Spanish, just with how many
Real.
guys, and coaches and staff. And I think it's the language of the future in terms of this country. But tell me, do you feel like learning that language has been very beneficial for your relationships with your soccer skills?
Everyone knows how it is. Like when you have like a group of the Spanish guys on the team, like people are kind of like, oh, okay, like someone tell the Spanish guys like this, that, and the other, or whatever. But like when you can like sit down and like talk to them and like get to know them, you come to understand like, oh, this guy that I thought was like, grumpy all the time, or like maybe had a bad attitude, is like hella funny. Or like this guy that like, you know, always seems to like never take anything serious, is like one of the most serious and
Yeah.
guys like you could ever know. So like for that, like, and then I guess, yeah, that does help your soccer skills if you can understand your teammates a little bit better, but it's really helped like understand culture, and you just getting into like interesting like conversations with like guys like Ozzy Alonso about like his experiences and back home in Cuba and whatnot. And of course he speaks perfect English, so we would always speak English. But like I was a lot closer to those of the Spanish guys on the team in Seattle because I could speak Spanish, right? So like it's
It's a sign of respect, meaning
yeah,
you took the time and the effort to learn it. And, I think that's the way the league is starting to go. It used to be they would try to teach those guys English, but now they've realized it's just as beneficial. And I think there's more guys that want to learn Spanish in a locker room than there are guys that they're forcing them to try to learn English. So when I say soccer skills, I just meant it helps your relationship with your teammates. It helps your relationship on the field because it's helped your relationship off the field.
for sure, for sure.
All right, and then we talk about a lot of these guys. You're you're quite the fashion. I'm so bad at fashion. I don't even know the word for, is it fashionista? I mean, I know you helped design an armband this year for your captain Dax McCarty. I know that you've been featured in a lot of blogs and some magazines. You know, my question is as a guy that has a really good fashion sense, and before I ask this question, how many pairs of shoes do you own?
I don't know. I don't know. I
Well,
don't
you
think
say I don't know, like I don't know how many I own, but it's probably like 15 pairs. Like you don't know, and it's more like.
So I don't know because I don't count them. Like there's a lot. I'm not trying to say that like I don't know. Like let
I
me
mean,
give you.
is it over 100?
Huh?
Is it over 100? I'm not judging. Listen, if I
Probably, yeah.
okay,
I would
I mean
imagine so. Probably,
you're
but let me put this in perspective. So I've been with Nike for 10 years, for my entire career up to this point, right? So 10 seasons, and like, so if you think about it, 100 pair of sneakers is not that much because, and I have more than 100, but like it's not it's not that much because it would be 10 pairs of sneakers a year about, right?
no,
So
I'm not judging. Listen, if I had style, and go look at if I post a picture of myself with like I think something is stylish, you watch. I get like 20 or 30 former players will say like, "Oh, hey, when are you running for Senate?" Or like they dog me, right? So I wish I had your fashion sense and your style. What I want to know is in every locker room, you have to probably be one of the best dressed guys. Would you agree with that?
uh I I
You're
don't know
you're
about
too humble.
that.
You're
But yeah, I have, yeah, my fashion is my sense for what looks good is sound.
and do you dog the other guys? Meaning like if the RGs come in their jean shorts with holes all over them, or a guy like me comes in with a pair of baggy, not tight jeans, and do you give those guys a hard time, or are you letting them slide?
Absolutely. And that's less to do with what I actually wear than more so like the environment that I came up in.
Okay.
So when I in Chicago, right? Logan never pause. He never wore sweats. It was jeans and some type of nice presentable top, jacket, scarf every day. And one day, like I said, okay, I'm a rookie. I got my Nike contract. I'm gonna wear my Nike sweats, this, that, and the other. Logan was like, Jalil, yeah, your Nike sweats are nice, but this is work. And
Well,
like, but he's serious though. He's not like being an asshole or anything like. He's serious, and he's like, look, and I'm like, yeah, but Logan, like this sweatsuit is fresh, and it was. Don't get me wrong, but like his point was that this is where this is our livelihood. So the amount of seriousness that you bring to this is what you're going to get out of it, is what his point was. And he was like, and he wouldn't just like chastise you, he would talk you through it, and he's like, look, like, what does your dad wear to work every day? My dad wears a suit and tie, slacks, bow tie, nice cut, clean. I'm like, yeah, he wears a clean suit every day. It's like, okay, so what business do you have wearing sweats to work every day? So for the rest of my career, I've been clowning rookies that if you wear like college sweats or something, I'm
yeah,
killing.
yeah, I agree. Listen, I make fun of people for everything. I mean, for me, Logan has to dress that way because Logan had a full head of white hair at 27 years old. So yeah, and listen, you can see I'm going white
Yeah.
completely. So I understand where he's coming from. It's really hard, like I wear shirts like this to make me look younger when no one thinks I'm young anymore. So I get it. I just, I think as a fashion guy, I would love, I'd love to see or hear about you clowning some guys that, like you said, they get drafted from the University of Maryland and they wear their full tracksuit on the first week as if anyone in the locker room cares that they went to the University of Maryland. I do want to switch it up a little bit. I know I know we're having some fun, but I do want to talk a little bit about your role with Black Players for Change.
Sure.
It's a very important role. It's very important with what you guys are doing. Talk to me a little bit about what's going on, what your plans are for the off season, and where you see this going long term.
Yeah. First and foremost, I think long term is the most important thing you said there, and in relation to BPC. We set up an organization and a cause and a brotherhood of solidarity that like is built for the long term. Obviously we founded it this summer, and we're laying the groundwork for it to be long term. But that's really what's most important for us, for it to be something that is simply just part of the league, and is synonymous with MLS, is synonymous with the PA, it's synonymous with stadiums in the league. It's just part of the league, and it's 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 something that I think has in its short time really shaped the culture of our league for the better, and like just broadened the perspective and the awareness. And even for us that are part of the BPC, it's actually given us a platform to support other people as well when they're in need throughout the soccer community. So it's been very refreshing to be a part of. It's been a lot of hard work, but something that you know a lot of people throughout the entire league have really helped to to make what it's become in such a short time. And that's not just throughout the Black community in the league. It's permeated through the entire league, through all facets of life, I would say.
Yeah, and I would challenge the listeners, if you haven't already. Jalil's on the board. They did an interview. The board did an interview with the Athletic, and it's probably, I know a lot of people, they're saying, oh, I want to learn more, or like, I don't know what my biases are, or I don't really, or some people say, I don't understand. I don't think it's, I don't understand how I'm supposed to feel, or I don't understand how anyone of color feels. I would challenge you to go read that Athletic article, and you can really see, as a soccer fan, how it'll affect people, and then as a human, how it affects everybody. And I think that's a really good starting point for a lot of people that if they're looking for somewhere to start. That article is so well done. You guys are so well spoken, and you can tell it means a lot to you guys. And it's something where it's been around, and you're finding a way to let everyone know how you feel. And so I don't know if you have a response to that, but that's just something that in the course of reading up on things myself, I thought that article was really powerful.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. It sat with you in that way. I think it's been an amazing experience for us just to see how so many people in connection with the league have responded in such a positive way. Because of course when you're dealing with things internally as an individual, and then you're still dealing with things internally as a group of minorities, and like you're trying to sort through all of your feelings and emotions, and how to make sense of it all while still being you know um you know tailored and buttoned up, and all of these types of things. It's you don't When we devised our plans in terms of, okay, this is what we want to do strategically, this is how we want things to hit, you still have no idea what people are going to say or what they're going to do or how they're going to respond to it. So to get the type of feedback like that we've been getting, not across the board, of course, obviously, but like where it counts, I would say, um that's like all anyone is asking for.
Well, I think that's, like I said, awesome work that you guys are doing. I look forward to following more on that.
Yeah.
I know you said you don't want to put anything out in the world in terms of goals or anything like that, but we've talked about how talented you are on the field, how talented you are off the field with some of your hobbies and some of your passions. What's next for you? I know you're still playing, but do you have a, what can people expect from you off the field in terms of your life goals going forward?
I've always wanted to play as long as like it still, like, the passion of playing matches up with when I started.
Okay.
And like I still get giddy like when the season's about to start, and like so like when that goes away, then that's when I'll know it's time.
Can I
But
can I interrupt you there? I didn't touch on this earlier, but you had a quote that I love, and I'm stealing it. You said it was someone told you this, a coach, protect your love for the game, and
yeah,
I feel like you do that really well. Who said that, and do you agree that maybe that's what's kind of influenced this attitude that you carry with you?
yeah, my dad says that
Okay.
all.
Okay.
um and yeah, for sure. I think like it's definitely like shaped my career, made it into what it's becoming. I think like because anyone that's played a sport for a living, so let's just keep it in our sport, anyone that's played football for a living knows that you have to be intentional about it, because as much as you love playing, as much as you love soccer, as much as we love everything about it, there are times where you do not want to play. There are times where you do not, you aren't experiencing, positive reinforcement from the sources you feel like you need to get them from or whatever. And it's just like, yo, like this actually sucks. Like this is terrible. But like if you're intentionally protecting even yourself, because you have to protect yourself from becoming hardened and jaded and losing sight of like why you do what you do, because that's probably the easiest thing to do once you become a professional player and like you experience certain negative things. It's like you can easily lose like why you're really doing this. Why does it make you whole? Right. So yeah, my dad will always say, my dad and my older brother Jamil, but that's from my pops though.
Yeah,
Like
no, it's
protect.
so true. Especially as I think you have a long playing career ahead of you, but you've seen guys do it. You get older, and you're not as uh, people treat you differently. Like you said, you're 25, you can't do what you did when you're 20. You're 35, you can't do what you did when you were 28. And if you don't protect that love, you forget that you started this because you love the game, and that was powerful for me. So I really, I'm glad you gave me a segue to that, because I didn't ask it earlier. Let's wrap this thing up. Um,
Yeah.
you're on Instagram. I love some of the posts you have on Instagram. Where can people follow you
Yeah.
outside? The people that are either seeing your name again, or people that are hearing from you for the first time, new Nashville fans. What's your social handles?
All my handles are the same. Jalil underscore Anibaba 4.
I'm excited for one, the country to open back up so we can see you do some of those things. I know that we were fortunate to have soccer this year, and being able to watch the games was a blessing. Appreciate you. I think a lot of people know you're a really energetic, great defender in this league, but hopefully this shows them that you're an even better guy off the field. I know you're a locker room favorite of anyone that's ever played with you. So, I hope you keep that same passion that we talked about, and protect your love for the game, because guys like me, we miss it. And I just really appreciate you, and appreciate you coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, always, man, always, Bobby. It was a pleasure tonight, and it was a pleasure too. All the years playing against each other, and unfortunately, we missed each other in Houston. But just want to let you know, I always have mad respect for you from one center back to another.
I appreciate that. Well, have a good one. That's Jalil Anibaba, everybody. I hope you check him out off the field, and obviously you'll watch him on the field.